Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, another entry here based on your suggestion. This one I picked because in looking at the information for this cryptid, there's several reasons that stand out. Number one, it is one of my beloved lumberjack cryptids, the ones that I've talked about probably more so than any of the other type of cryptids in my channel, and it has to do with one of those lumberjack tales that is so great. I mean, they're so unique, they're so curious, they're so fascinating that it's great to show it here as well. Number two is the fact that there's a known location for this cryptid here in the US, one single location. So I love those as well because the idea that you can go to this location and actually visit it and see potentially one of these cryptids right then and there, that's what makes it so fascinating too. And then lastly, number three is because this particular cryptid, for all intents and purposes, could actually be the closest thing to a real thing. And the reason for it is because we have its cousin to utilize as a reference point, which is indeed real. In this case being the platypus. So this cryptid I'm talking about is known as the Bildad, which you're looking at a picture of here. Right off the bat you can see immediately why it looks so much like a cousin of sorts of the platypus. And that's because they share many similar characteristics. Not completely, of course, but still pretty similar. So I'm going to talk about all the information here regarding the Billdad in this video. So what is the Billdad? Well, it's again one of those lumberjack cryptids that lives in the US apparently still to this day. And the location I was talking about earlier, if you're ever in Maine, particularly northwest Maine, and in particular towards an area called the Boundary Pond, which you're looking at a picture of here, then you're in luck. You're in an area, the only one apparently, that houses this creature. So again, I love that notion because if you want to find this creature, that's where you go exactly. You're not going to Arizona, you're not going to Florida, you're not going to New York, you're going straight to this area here, and that's where you're going to find this creature. And the way it looks like, again, very, very similar to the platypus, is described as follows. It's also the size of a beaver, so very, very distinct feature with regards to its size. It has a larger, longer, kangaroo-like legs. So unlike, let's say, the platypus or the beaver, these legs are much bigger in terms of its length. Its difference, though, is its arms are tinier, much tinier, the front ones at least, so almost like a T-Rex size. So at least it makes up with regards to that short stature on the front arms with its long legs. And then it also has webbed feet, I believe, much like the platypus as well. And then also key and distinct is the fact that it has one of those large, I don't know what they call them, but it's those tails that almost looks like a pad of some sort, much again like a platypus, and it uses it for a very specific attack, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But those legs act like a reason, and are there for a reason, because apparently this creature, when spotted, it has the ability to move very, very fast and to also utilize those legs to have very powerful jumps, almost to about 60 yards, if that's right, which is a long distance. For a tiny creature like that, 60 yards and a single leap, that is a very long distance. Also, if you go towards the face, it's reported to have a hawk-like bill, so it's a mixture almost of like a bird of some sort. And then this thing uses that, I guess, that hawk-like bill to do its attack on its prey. So this is the attack I was mentioning earlier. It's a patient creature of sorts. It hunts by the pond there, again, Boundary Pond in northwest Maine. And the way it works is it'll just wait by a grassy area nearby, let's say a location where there's a lot of insects. And the reason for it is because it waits for those insects to come by the water, by the surface of the water, specifically waiting for a fish to come out. And when the fish gets nearby the pond or the surface where those insects are, that's when it attacks. Whenever it gauges and senses that it's the right time and the fish is close as possible to the surface of the pond, then it uses its legs to move very, very quickly. Again, it's been described as moving very fast, and it turns around and smacks I guess, the hell out of that fish with that large pad that it has for its tail. So imagine like a platypus tail as both a weapon, or in this case as something on the offensive side for food, and so it uses it to smack down really hard on the fish. In fact, you know you're in that territory there, Boundary Pond, when it comes to the Bilddads, whenever you start hearing those large smacking sounds. Those sounds, by the way, are very similar apparently to the sound as if, let's say, you had one of those pads, those long pads that are used by canoes or canoers to stroke the water and move forward. Whenever you take that large pad and then just smack it on the water, that's the very same sound apparently that is with the Bildad. So the fish is stunned, and then the Bildad goes to work. It starts eating that fish right then and there, and then it goes back to its hiding spot and then waits for the next fish to come around. So that is its main attack. Not really anything towards humans, though. Apparently this creature understands where it is, I guess, on the evolutionary chain, and it doesn't attack humans. It doesn't do anything towards them, unless, of course, let's say that it's on the defensive side. But otherwise, if you run into one of these creatures there in Maine, you're not exactly going to be like in fear for your life. And if anything, this Bildad is something that probably hides from humans all day long, or if any human approaches it, it just naturally runs away. A curious thing, though, is apparently during the lumberjack days, they were far more plentiful, so much so that they were considered a delicacy. Like, people would actually eat the Bilddads. I guess they were that plentiful around for people to hunt or to grab or to gather or whatever, and then eat them as well. Although the meat is not supposed to be tasting too well. That's why apparently it started, I guess, as a fad, and then it stopped thereafter. So with regards to the Bildad, there have been eaten before in the past too. So another interesting thing about them. And as I mentioned earlier, I think the closest thing that this is real, that this is one of those rare cryptids that it's kind of hard to deny their existence, is the fact that you just have to look at the platypus for a comparison. I mean, a platypus is a mishmash of who knows how many different animals. Like, did you know, for example, that the platypus even has poison? It has the male does, at least within one of its web paddings of sorts. So there you have a creature that has the bill of a duck, and then it looks like a beaver, and then it has a very unique tail, and then it has, in that case, like poison with it. Very unique. And then, of course, I believe they laid the eggs, if I'm not mistaken, which is still, again, also pretty rare for mammals. So when you have that weird type of creature, you would think, oh, that's just something that's made up. But then there it is in the real world, the platypus. So why not this particular thing, the Bildad, with all its mishmash of stuff as well? Why not it being real too, here somewhere in the U.S.? And on top of that, it could be, like I was mentioning at the very beginning, a cousin of sorts of the platypus, because the platypus, if I'm not mistaken, it's like just the only region it's known to be in is Australia. But who knows, maybe somewhere long ago in the past, there was a similar line from the platypus, I guess, family that stayed here in America. I guess when continents were closer to each other, who knows, but it stayed here and then prospered within America, and it's our own version in this case of the platypus. So again, another idea that this could be a real thing as well. So what do you guys think? The Bildad, very unique creature, probably one of the most closest ones to being real here in the world as well. Lots of crazy characteristics regarding it, and again, very particular to one spot only, Boundary Pond there in northwest Maine. So if you want to go hunting, at least for visual purposes, and try to see if you can capture this thing on video, or if you can capture it on photographs, again, go to this place, and when you start hearing that large smacking sound, then you know that you're in good territory. You know that you have a Bildad nearby. So if anyone has any more information on that, that would be great to hear. Alright, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.